I'm Martin Williams from Talesmith and Flyride Films, two production companies. Talesmith is a specialist factual production company focusing really on natural history and science. We also specialise in VR and in giant screen immersive films. The Flyride films that we make are effectively giant screen 180 films. So your seat is thrust out into the middle of the picture. When you look to the left, you see what's going on. To the right, above you see sky, below you see the treetops beneath your feet. The seat is actually thrust out into the middle of this screen. So it's the same sort of experience, but just on a giant screen setting. And then we're also involved in the project Hold the World VR for Sky, which is a Factory 42 production in association with Talesmith.
Hold the World is an interactive virtual reality experience.
Welcome to London's Natural History Museum.
And I shall invite you to look and select a number of objects. You'll be able to pick it up.
Got it.
Turn it around, bring it closer to you, take it farther away, and in the end you can make it come to life.
The main event within that piece is Sir David himself, a hologram of Sir David, sitting opposite you, giving you a personal account of the natural history of these objects that have been scanned. And it's very clever in that you can manipulate the objects and Sir David will react to whatever you're doing. So if you look at the eyes of a trilobite, he'll start telling you about the eyes. If you look at the mouth parts of a blue whale, he'll start telling you about how the blue whale feeds. And then at the end of the experience, each of these objects animates, comes to life.
It's one of the most convincing and bewitching visual experiences that the world of technology has yet produced.
I'm Anthony, I'm founder of Byron Productions. We're a four-man crew based here in Bristol and we specialise in 360 virtual reality filming. We provide the full package. We write the script, we produce it, we go on location, capture it, and we do post, all in-house. At the moment, we're just working on a really exciting film about Ethiopian wolves. That will be a 12-minute piece, viewable on the VR headsets, but also on 2D on platforms like YouTube and Facebook.
What that reminded me of, there was a scene with wolves on an open savannah, and it reminded me of when I was filming myself, and you're actually looking around to see what's happening. And at first you're not actually sure where the action is and where you're even meant to be looking. And because it felt real, it's a little bit noisy here, so I can hear the background, people talking and everything, but you can imagine in the right environment, it touches you in a different way to a normal film or a normal TV programme. I've never worn a headset like that before in my life, for games or anything like that at all, so it's a totally new experience and engrossing, really.
This is one of our brand new virtual reality cameras. It's called a Kandao Obsidian. It's got 6 lenses and they all film at the same time, and then we stitch that picture together to give you a perfect 360 image. Your main challenge is these are all wide angle lenses, so you need to get really close to the subject which you're filming. What we have to do usually is place it down and just predict and cross our fingers and hope that the animal we're trying to film comes close enough to get the shot we're looking for. Adverse weather conditions, you need to be always kind of near to cover it up. And the worst thing of all, because it records all around you, is we've got to hide. So if you're in a flat field filming an animal and you need to be kind of close monitoring it, you've got to either lie down to edit yourself out in post or find a rock or a tree. I mean, it comes with a whole range of problems, but a lot of fun solutions.
360 video is a tricky thing because the staple of natural history filmmaking is the long lens shot. So you get detail and you see eyes and you see real activity. The virtual reality cameras are very, very wide angle. The thing that's great about virtual reality is putting you in a location. So you get a sense of being under the waterfall or a sense of being, on the plateau with the wolves, but actually getting, detail of animal and intimate relationship with animal much harder, particularly with wild animals. I mean, there was a wolf there who was sort of intrigued about the camera and came a certain distance, probably really quite close, about 10 foot away, still felt it was a long way away. I'm a producer of Stereo 3D. And Stereo 3D apparently has failed in the home and is failing in the cinema because of the goofy glasses, which is basically these glasses dark. So the idea that virtual reality with this great box on the head is going to be a success there's a definite irony there.
It's really early days in terms of how does a story work in VR or 360. The simplest answer is you have to approach it like theatre. So all of the old tools in terms of telling a story, cutting, whatever you're doing in terms of how you're telling the story, cutting to a close-up, going to a long shot, whatever, all of those sort of standard filmmaking tools that you use in building narrative are thrown out the window and you have to kind of start again. At the moment, a lot of the broadcasts are kind of using 360 as what you call companion content. The problem is people are still using it like the behind the scenes. They're just throwing a 360 rig out there saying capture something as and when you can. That's completely the wrong approach. You have to have a dedicated 360 team to capture the stories, to really think through what the editorial is before you go out on a shoot. It's not just something you throw in a bag and just say capture what you can. It's just an error that everybody's making. They just think you can just, capture sort of behind the scenes stuff. No, you have to build a story to make it engaging. It's got to have a story. It's got to be thought about. But the problem is, there isn't the money in the budget for that yet because it hasn't proven itself to be what's its purpose. So that's the struggle. It's a kind of chicken and egg thing, basically. And it needs the broadcasters to embrace it and just say, fine, we're going to get a proper 360 budget. We're going to make a proper 360 film out of this that's going to sit on tablets. It's going to be put in headsets. We're going to really roll it out as well as part of the, the marketing or it's, companion content to the TV piece.
So for people who have grown up in the linear filmmaking space, as documentary, natural history filmmakers, it is a very different discipline. You're in a world where you script something, you tell a story, it has a beginning, middle and an end. And I think certainly in 360 filmmaking that still applies. If you're making a 360 film, you're still making a film. It's just the screen is all around the camera. And I think the difference there is the viewer, the user of the headset, becomes your editor in a way because you're having to, they get so much choice about what to look at. And I think the important thing there is, as a filmmaker, you have to think, well, if they miss the action over here because they're looking over there, what does that mean for the storytelling? And I think that just has to be built into the way things are, where the action is thought about, and where the storytelling is thought about. I think for truly virtual reality experiences, which involves interaction and touching objects, picking objects up, it is a very different thing. I think you're operating on a different platform. It's usually these things are made in gaming engines, so it's like those books from the 80s, if people are old enough to remember them, Choose Your Own Adventure, where you go through a chapter and then at the end you've got 5 different choices and you turn to page 386 for if you choose that choice, and then the story goes down a different path. It's the same thing in VR. You've got to create all of those different options within the story and accept that people might choose those particular paths, but you can also be clever in terms of encouraging people to go down certain paths. You can encourage them to go through the doors you want them to. So all of that has to be thought about. So it's a blend of different techniques, and I think as long as you're open to learning those new techniques and aren't too scared by the possibilities, then I think there's every opportunity for anybody who has grown up in a linear filmmaking world to take the bull by horns and learn this new exciting medium.